Back in January 2018, in one of his final major acts as Arsenal manager, Arsene Wenger signed Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang for around £60 million, a club record at the time. One of Europe's most prolific goal scorers, the former Borussia Dortmund star was an instant success at the Emirates, elevating the Gunners' attack and registering 70 goals across his first 2.5 seasons in England. But 4 years later, and the Gabon legend has been let go for free 18 months before the end of his contract, and is reportedly set to lose out on €7 million worth of wages in the second half of the 21-22 season as a result of his move to Barcelona, having seen his performances decline and relationship with Arsenal deteriorate over the last 18 months. But how did Aubameyang become one of this generation's greatest strikers, and where did it all go wrong? On today's EFD Explained, we're going to find out. For those whose earliest memories of Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang consist of him earning a move to Borussia Dortmund off the back of a 21-goal season for St Etienne, the assumption is probably that he was always a natural goalscorer. But that isn't the case. However, the forward was born into football pedigree, with his father Pierre Aubameyang an 80-capped Gabon international who was once the record appearance maker for the Central African nation. And his early football education largely followed Pierre's career, playing in the youth ranks at Nice and Rouen as his father wound down his playing days in their senior sides, and eventually being snapped up by Milan at the same time that Pierre was employed there as a scout. But despite impressing for the Rossoneri's under-19s, he never made a senior appearance at the San Siro, instead making a number of different loan moves to clubs back in France, scoring 8 goals for Dijon in Ligue 2 before spells at Lille and Monaco, where he failed to find consistency. Having moved around so much in his early career, Aubameyang was determined to find a more permanent home when he arrived at St Etienne in January 2011, and while he was yet to prove himself in the French top flight, impressed manager Christophe Galtier, who in an interview years later said that even though up until then things hadn't gone well for him, I saw one thing in the training session: he was able to beat anyone with the ball at his feet with a run of 60 metres. Having been played predominantly on the wing up until that point, Galtier deployed Aubameyang at centre forward, but despite his raw ability he struggled in front of goal, netting just twice in 14 appearances. With the club unsure as to whether to keep him on, the young forward made his case, staying in St Etienne over the summer holidays to train. By the time the rest of the squad returned for pre-season, he had taken his game up a level. In the words of manager Galtier, from the first day that he arrived at training, he wasn't the same man. He'd become a war machine. He paid particular attention to his shooting technique, and the results were instant. His shots per 90 rose from 2.9 to 3.5, and he scored twice in his first 4 appearances of the new season, with Galtier's focus on fast, counter-attacking football suiting Aubameyang's skill set. As former teammate Fabien Lemoine later said, "We didn't even need to be super precise with our passes in behind. He was so quick that we had a huge margin of error." He ended the campaign with 16 goals and 7 assists, firing St Etienne to 7th, their highest finish in 4 seasons, and also established himself as the main man for the Gabon national team, scoring 3 times at the Africa Cup of Nations. He'd improve again the following season, with only Zlatan Ibrahimovic bettering his 19 goals in the league and only 3 others beating his 9 assists, as he helped Galtier's side win the Coupe de la Ligue, which remains the club's only major silverware of the last 40 years. Aubameyang's exploits in France didn't go unnoticed, and that summer he was signed by Borussia Dortmund, not only one of the most stylistically exciting teams in Europe under Jurgen Klopp, but one that had just reached the Champions League final, beating Jose Mourinho's Real Madrid twice en route. Within 2 years, he'd gone from struggling to impress at a mid-level Ligue 1 side to entering a club full of emerging world beaters, and he quickly settled in at the Westfalenstadion, coming off the bench to provide an assist in Dortmund's victory over Bayern Munich in the German Super Cup, before hitting a hat-trick on his Bundesliga debut, featuring in all but 3 games and scoring 16 in all competitions, predominantly from the right flank. Like Galtier, Klopp had been impressed by Aubameyang's pace and directness on the counter-attack, seeing it as perfect for his side's fast transitional play. But with the departure of main man Robert Lewandowski in the summer of 2014, he discovered he was also adept at playing with his back to goal as a striker. And while the manager's final season in the Dortmund dugout was a disappointing one, with his side eventually finishing 7th after flirting with relegation, Aubameyang proved an adept replacement for Lewandowski, hitting 25 goals in total. but it was under Klopp's successor Thomas Tuchel that he would find his very best form. In 2015-16 he averaged a career-high 4.3 shots per 90, with 86% of them coming from inside the box, developing a near telepathic connection with Henrik Mkhitaryan, who himself had emerged as one of Europe's top creators. Aubameyang scored an astounding 39 goals in all competitions and followed this up with 40 the following campaign, setting a new Bundesliga record for goals scored by a non-German player in the process. His superb performances at Dortmund also earned him the African Footballer of the Year award in 2015, becoming the first Gabonese player to win the accolade and denying Yaya Toure a fifth in a row. But it wasn't long after this that the first signs of unrest between the player and club began to emerge. Even during his days at St Etienne, Aubameyang had stood out for his unique and glamorous taste, with a penchant for rare cars and flamboyant outfits a point of fun with teammates. But his hard work in training and leadership in the dressing room meant his off-field indulgences were never an issue. However, in late 2017, sporting director Michael Zorc went public with his concerns over Aubameyang's punctuality, suggesting he was setting a bad example to young players like Ousmane Dembele, who was a friend of the striker and by that point had left for Barcelona. This came after he'd been suspended for a league game by the club for disciplinary reasons, and it wasn't the first time either. The previous season, Thomas Tuchel had omitted him from a Champions League tie for so-called internal reasons, with rumours ranging from him having gone to Italy for a party unauthorised to a disagreement with the manager over rotation policy. Shortly after Zorc's comments, Aubameyang was sold to Arsenal, with Dortmund CEO Hans-Joachim Watzke later questioning his reasoning for joining a club not playing in the Champions League. The player responded by calling him a clown. But while relations were strained with his former employers in Germany, Aubameyang was an instant hit in England, hitting 10 goals and 4 assists in his first 13 Premier League appearances. By October 2018, he was sustaining the best goals to minutes ratio in the competition's history. He then hit 20+ league goals in consecutive seasons, becoming the first gunner to do so since Thierry Henry. All the more impressive given he spent most of the 1920 season playing off the left. By the summer of 2020, Arsenal had become so reliant on Aubameyang, who had also assumed the club captaincy after it was stripped from Granit Xhaka, that tying him down to a new contract became manager Mikel Arteta's top priority. Faced with the prospect of the then 31-year-old leaving for free the following year, and the comparative difficulty of finding a striker who could replace the output of someone who had scored almost 40% of the entire team's league goals the previous season, the Gunners decided to go all in to get Aubameyang to sign, eventually handing him a 3-year deal worth £55 million that September. But despite vowing to become an Arsenal legend on signing, Aubameyang's new contract signalled the beginning of his downfall at the Emirates. Following the Gunners' opening day victory over Fulham, he failed to score from open play for 11 straight games, with Arsenal losing 7 of them. During this period, his shots per game dropped from 2.7 to 1.7, while his shot accuracy fell from 44% to 36%. But perhaps the club should have seen it coming. The previous season, Aubameyang's expected goals per 90 had dropped from 0.67 to 0.45, and while this could be explained at least partly by his shift from the centre to the left, the fact his expected assists also fell suggested that his overall attacking output was on the decline. At the very least, it was a sign that a 31-year-old Aubameyang could no longer be relied upon to score 20 goals in the league every season. Stresses in Aubameyang's family life also meant he had to miss some mid-season fixtures, with the player having to return home to France to visit his mother who was suffering health problems, while he also contracted malaria while on international duty, an ordeal that saw him spend 3 days in hospital and lose 4 kilograms of weight. However, it was also during this time that the captain's discipline began to be called into question. Aubameyang was fined for missing a COVID test before a Europa League game, sparked an internal investigation from the club after allegedly breaking lockdown to get a tattoo in February 2021, and was demoted to the bench for the North London derby after arriving to the game late. By December, he was hanging on to his captaincy by a thread. As an article in The Athletic read at the time, Aubameyang is not a tub-thumping orator or an on-field coach. Instead, he is expected to lead by example, and of late, those standards have slipped. And the final straw was an unfortunate one. After arriving back to London late from visiting his mother, having been given special dispensation from Mikel Arteta, who had otherwise banned the squad from travelling abroad amid rising COVID cases across Europe, Aubameyang was dropped from the squad and then stripped of the captain's armband, with the Arsenal boss questioning the player's commitment. Things only got worse for the striker after that, ruled out of the Africa Cup of Nations after contracting COVID and suffering from cardiac lesions as a result after flying to Cameroon for the tournament. And following speculation linking him with Saudi Arabian outfit Al Nassr and Italian giant Juventus, he eventually signed for Barcelona after negotiating a significant pay cut. While he ended his Arsenal career as the club's 6th top goalscorer of the Premier League era, the way it ended will always represent a tough moment in the career of a player who, despite his quirks, has generally been very well liked wherever he's played. With any luck, he will be able to rebuild his confidence at the Camp Nou. So that was our take on the highs and lows of Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang's career, but do you think he will be a success at Barcelona? Let us know in the comments below. If you enjoyed this video, why not check out our other explains, as we put one out every single week. And if you're not subscribed to Euro Football Daily, get subscribed. Thanks for watching, bye for now.